welcome to the podcast, Elias Hix. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm actually doing even weller because I love how excited you are to be here.
Yeah, this is so cool. I've never been in an in-person podcast before. I did like one over a Zoom call, which is awesome, and I love that. I've never been in one like inside of a studio before.
I'm glad that we're your first. It can be, honestly, I find that Zoom interviews are actually more awkward because I can't like really read the person's energy and it feels a little bit more scripted. Yeah. So I hope you're gonna have a good time.
Oh yeah, I'm really, really excited.
Well, you're in Boston because you're currently on tour with TopHouse. 6 shows in. This is your first ever tour, right?
Yes, I've done like some one-off shows before with some artists who have like been on tour, but I've never done like consistent run with a band before. So we're doing 8 shows with them. We started in Wayne, Pennsylvania, and are going to Woodstock, New York. And just doing a bunch of shows up Northeast.
And how's the experience been so far?
It's been absolutely amazing. So I guess like there's a learning curve of touring and figuring out how to do that because it is like most time I do a show like once a month, and now I'm doing 8 shows in a row. So there's definitely a learning curve on that and figuring out like how to like make sure my body feels okay and like mentally feel okay to get on stage every night and put on a really good performance. Yeah. And trying to figure out how to do that and understand myself about how to do that, if that makes sense.
Well, I think that's the beauty of like having this opening slot and have it be your first run is it's meant for you to kind of learn on the job, and no one's gonna be upset if you kind of mess up along the way. It's to be expected.
Definitely, yeah.
We're not chipping our teeth on the mics though.
No.
So what was like your expectations versus reality of tour? Is there anything that is going a little differently than you suspected?
I honestly tried to go with no expectations. Okay. I try to go in like most new things with no expectations because I guess it's going about. I think the traveling has definitely been the thing that I didn't think would be as big of a deal. Mm. It sounds stupid, but I didn't realize how much I would be in a car traveling. Yeah. So.
And you don't realize how much that like takes out of you. Like it actually does drain your energy. Even if it's like a 5-hour drive, 5 hours actually is 6 with stops, and then you got to get a Slim Jim on the way. What are you snacking on in between shows?
This might make Nate giggle, but I've eaten an excessive amount of peanut butter bagels. That's like been lunch day after day, and I don't mind it. I think my band and Nate are sick of it by now. I don't know. I could eat peanut butter sandwiches infinitely.
Awesome, man.
Put them on a bagel.
So reliable, so cheap, so hearty. Kind of I guess nutritious. More nutritious than other options.
Yeah, you put a little like honey on it, and that makes it beautiful, a little bit more bearable.
So obviously, going into tour, your first ever tour, there's like some technicalities that you got to prepare for. What did that look like? Did you have to do vocal training? I don't imagine you have choreo, but maybe you do.
We have like a few things. So in my band, it's me, an electric guitarist, and a violin player. That's Aiden Larson and Reed Warren. And we have some stuff where we try to sync up our movements. But I think the main thing was just like really making sure the set, because a lot of our set's continuous. Mm-hmm. Reed is a violin player, does little tunes in between songs, take from song to song easily, because I didn't realize I write in the same keys a lot. So it made it pretty easy. But I did do some vocal stuff of practicing, just being able to sing day after day. So I'd run through the set at night in my dorm room just to make sure I could have vocal consistency. I can feel it wearing on me now still because I'm just like not used to singing that much, I guess. It was funny, when I was at home, I used to do a lot of bar shows, and those were like 3 hours long, like 3 hours of straight singing. But I guess that doesn't really transfer to doing 1 hour night after night.
Well, what's the difference like? Because I imagine an opening set, you kind of have more of the audience's attention than a bar set.
A little bit, yeah. Definitely more than a bar set. I know during bar set, you're just like fighting to be over people talking. Yeah. But I found especially, I think the crowd TopHouse pulls in is super respectful and really wants just to hear you play. And all the venues are pretty small. I think even the venue we played at last night had all these little signs on the tables that said you can have your phones out for the first 2 shows, the first 2 songs, and then after that, phones away, stop talking completely.
That is awesome, dude.
Yeah, it was nice. I think it's like sometimes you want people to video a song, but it was really that whole audience was like staring at me the whole time. It was wonderful.
I personally get like really sensitive when people talk during sets. Like we've had shows before, and we had like this acoustic one, and people were talking during one of the artists' set, and I literally went around and was like, "Everyone, be quiet!" I was yelling at people.
I remember that happened. I went to see Gregory Isakov, who's one of my favorite artists.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And Aoife O'Donovan, who's another one of my favorite singers. She was opening that set, but it was just her and a guitar, and I was really disappointed in the crowd because they just didn't.
Yeah.
They just kind of talked over the whole time, and almost to the point you couldn't hear her, which was weird for like. I felt like for a paid concert, something I would expect at a bar gig.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned practicing in your dorm room because you're a college student, East Tennessee University, correct?
Yeah, East Tennessee State University.
And you're studying bluegrass?
I am. I'm a bluegrass major. Bluegrass, old time, roots music, and Celtic music studies.
So what is that like? What's that entail?
So it's very similar to just a normal music major. I still have my music theory classes and music history classes, but they're all more bluegrass oriented. Like I have an old time roots music history class I'm taking next semester.
Yeah.
I still take theory, still take lessons. I think one of the biggest differences between it and like a normal music degree is we have, instead of having like ensembles, like having like a string quintet like you would have in a more classical program, we have bands. It's just called, you take a band class.
Oh, cool.
And it's, everyone has to take one a semester, and I think most people take 2 or 3. And you're just in a band, and you have a director who's a teacher there who kind of conducts you how to be in a band, which is really good because you just get to learn how to be part of a band in a controlled setting and learn how to work with other people in all kinds of different music. Like currently now, I play bluegrass and old-time bass, like stand-up bass. I also play in the symphony for stand-up bass as well. But I played in the square dance band and then a jam grass band. Last semester, I played in a trad bluegrass band.
Sweet.
And the next semester I'll be in a progressive bluegrass band. So it's cool getting to play that genre than my own genre and kind of like taking influences.
I feel like that has to help directly the Elias Hix project because honestly, I was doing a deep dive. I had a very emotional listen to your music the other day. I'm not gonna lie. It was a very sunny day, and my family has a house in Newport, and I had the opportunity to go alone, and I was so excited to like walk around the beach alone. And as soon as I crossed state lines, it turned from like 60 to 40 and started to rain, and I was like, this isn't gonna mess up my vibe. Started listening to your music on a walk in the rain. Main character moment for sure. But one thing that really stood out to me was like the amount of instruments and layering that you have in your music. It was like a full blown like orchestra symphony vibe. What have you learned from your schooling that kind of directly relates to your Elias Hix project?
It's been a lot. So I started working in the classical world. I started playing violin when I was 4 and started playing stand-up bass when I was 10, transitioning from like violin to stand-up bass in the school orchestra. And the first time I ever started writing music was when I was 12 in 6th or 7th grade. I started doing symphony compositions. Like, the first thing I think I ever transposed was a December song called The Crane Wife and Sons and Daughters off, I forget what the name of that album is, but it's one of my favorite albums. But I transposed those 2 songs and just started working and writing my own music, and I submitted to NAFMO. It's a big like symphony competition thing, and a few other competitions. And that's the first kind of music writing that I ever did. And then during the COVID lockdown, when I was in like 9th grade, around 15, that's when I started learning how to produce, write, sing, play guitar, ukulele, cello. Like the things I use in my music now all kind of started there.
Dude, that is so sick.
But I do definitely still think about my production from, I think, a very classical perspective, like I'm working in symphony. Because I think my brain was just wired that way from a young age to think like that.
You are so intelligent and smart. Obviously, I mentioned like it just sounds like it sounds like a big production, like your music. What does the recording process look like? Are you playing all the instruments? Do you record with a full band?
It depends for the song. I've never done like live tracking. I've done everything with a Focusrite interface. So just one track at a time. For, I guess, I do almost all the instruments myself. The only songs I've had people play on were on my album Thinner. Sam Rollins played piano on Aspen Jane, Analog Ghost. I had a drummer Hugh McNulty played drums on Aspen Jane, The Painter and the Chemist. Yeah, those 2 songs. I had a cello player for Analog Ghost. That was Divi Sarija and John Garcia on Analog Ghost, Aspen Jane. I think that was it. I really hope I'm not missing one. Then everything else, I played all the instruments. Then on my last single called Father's Coat, Ellie Davis sings vocals in the chorus, and she has an absolutely beautiful voice, and she's an old-time major at ETSU.
Wow.
And then Reed Warren and Alistair McCubbin are two violin players that I know who played violin on that track.
Wow. So as someone who's like a master of their craft and can actually do it all, how is your relationship like collabing with other people?
Sometimes I think I have to swallow my own pride a little bit, because most of the time I always want to go in and think like, I want to do this all myself.
Yeah.
Like I want to play every instrument myself, because I do think there's something to be said for playing all the instruments yourself. Because especially I used to mix and master my own music. My last two songs have been done by Josh Bonanno. And he does an absolutely wonderful job. He mixed and mastered the past two songs, Stones and Waves and Father's Coat. Before that, I mixed and mastered everything myself and took some of the album art for it as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like, so Paper Teeth, I wrote, mixed and mastered, took the album art, produced, recorded, all the instruments are played by me. So it was like this thing that I just held in my hands from the second it was an idea to when I put it out in the world. So that songs like that are super special to me.
Yeah.
Because I've controlled it the whole way. But then there's also something to be said for collaboration, because Father's Coat would not be as good of a song if there wasn't the violin and backup vocals on it. The song just wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be as good of a song. So I think it just depends on the situation, at least for me, I guess.
And I think that also just, too, comes with the territory of keep collaborating and realizing what parts of your project you actually do kind of like to give up to other ears and what parts you actually want to keep to yourself.
Yeah, I know writing something I like. It actually depends on the situation. Me and Nate were talking about this because I really want to start doing more collaborations, but I want to begin working on a larger project. But for like, I think a larger project, I'd want everything to be written by myself. But then like smaller things, I'd love to co-write.
Yeah.
And I guess I can't really explain why I feel that way, but it's just like an inner feeling that I have that I don't want to let go of.
You know, as I talk to you, I feel like I'm talking to like a seasoned vet. But you're 18 years old, which is really just so impressive. You're in school, you're on tour, you're also killing it right now. You've experienced a lot of success. So I'm kind of curious, like, where are you in your artist project, would you say?
I'm honestly not sure. I feel like I have a hard time tracking where I am, because I feel like I go back and forth trying the inner voice that's like, oh yeah, you're killing it right now, like you're doing great. And then there's always a voice that's like, oh, you should be doing a bit better right now. Like you really haven't done anything. It could all fall apart if you like just don't release a song for like 6 months. You know, it all go away. No one's gonna care. But then it's like those two voices constantly going at each other. So I feel like I have such a skewed view of where I am. But I sometimes think it's a good thing to come at everything like a beginner. Like every song I start, it's like the first song I ever made, and coming at from everything from a very humble, or that's not the right word. But just coming at everything like you don't know what you're doing, and I try to do most things like that. Like I feel like for my last two songs, I made the mistake of thinking, oh yeah, I can push these, make them blow up on streaming services, but then realizing I just need to write for myself. And I can't write to make something a hit. So songs that are tried to be written for the masses never work for the masses. I feel like the feeling of just releasing a song and be like, that's mine, and I'm proud of it, is massively more important than this song like hit the Billboard or something like that. The feeling of fulfillment is gonna be a lot more important in the long run than the feeling of immediate success.
Heck yeah, man. Never lose that. So from like a business standpoint, you have a manager.
Yes.
Are you signed to a record label?
I'm not. Good old district kid.
Hell yeah. So like you are an indie artist. You have a team around you, but you're still independent. What do you think your team does really well that has got you on a tour and got your music into so many ears?
So I started working with Nate and Mason, who are my two managers, and Playdate Management, which they run.
Shout out.
Like, yeah, right, there he is. We started working together like March or April of last year, I think. I think that's when we started talking. We officially started working together like beginning of May, leading up to I was going to release a song called Empty June. So that was the first song we released together. But they've been absolutely amazing and just helping out, especially like as college got going and I like needed extra help because I didn't have as much time anymore. And they're like workhorses as well, and they deeply care about like my artist project and the other artist projects that they manage. And I really respect them because they understand like the art comes first. Like when it comes down to it, the art is the most important part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
they also do great. Like I'm on this tour because he knew, Nate Mason knew to reach out to TopHouse and talk to them. So yeah, I'm very thankful for them.
And it's such a good duo. Like it's such a great band to be partnered with. It actually does make a lot of sense. When I saw that you were teaming up with them, I was like, heck yeah.
Yeah, they're great. Then I also work with a lawyer named Oren through Nate Mason, and I just signed a UTA for booking with Joe Wolfield.
Sick, dude.
So I'm excited to be able to start working.
That's huge. Those are
with
all
him more.
steps that, like, there's a lot of independent artists that are popping off, and they kind of always miss out on those two steps, the agent and the lawyer being number one. Cause
Yeah, I think the agent was like was like the thing I was like really, really wanting to get. So I was very, very happy to be able to sign there. I remember I was actually in Charleston visiting some friends, and Nate, because we had the call with UTA, and I wasn't sure if it was like Nate and Nate's like, oh yeah, they'll sign you. But I'm super cynical and skeptical. So, and I'm like a person, I do not believe in getting my hopes up because I don't want to be let down. So I was like, okay, I don't know if it's going to happen. And Nate calls me, he's like, hey, have you seen the packet they sent over? I'm like, what are you talking about? And he sent me the package. And I was like, why do I need to fill out a packet? He's like, oh, because like you're going to be part of UTA now. And I was like freaking out on the phone. So I was like ecstatic.
congrats, man.
Yeah.
You deserve it. So all of this to say you are a full-time student too?
Mm-hmm.
Dang, man.
Yeah.
So how's like juggling life? Are we level-headed? Are we good?
Difficult.
Yeah.
It's pretty good though. The bluegrass department is really, they're good about being lenient for students. They have a good bit of students who also tour, so they understand. Also, a lot of our teachers tour.
Oh, sick.
Too. Like it's written in their contracts that they get to miss so many days because they get to go on tour. So they're going out on tour. So when the student's like, oh, I have to go on tour too, then they completely understand. They're not very hard about it.
That's huge.
Yeah. Now we still do have to balance our gen eds.
Yeah.
It's a BA degree. It's a Bachelor of Arts, so it's not super heavy on gen eds.
Yeah.
But I was in the green room typing up an English paper last night. So
Just throw it in a chat GPT. You're good.
yeah. Oh no, she has like my English teacher. She's a great English teacher, and I love her class. She has this thing that can check for chat GPT, or maybe she's completely lying to us, but I'm too scared to test it.
That's actually so funny.
Yeah, but so I love my English class. She has me on an Emily Dickinson kick.
Nice.
Yeah, so I've loved what we've read in her class, and I actually have this massive Emily Dickinson book that I read through a lot, and I wouldn't have found that if not for her class. So I love a good English class.
I've noticed through like past interviews when I was like prepping for this one of how like wise and intuitive you are. And it obviously shows in your lyrics as well. Where do you think that stems from? How did we get there?
I guess like I feel like my parents are very smart people. Both my parents are educators and have done a lot of schooling themselves.
Yeah.
So my dad's a history teacher, and he has a big PhD in history.
Sweet.
So I feel like I've always, I guess, had smart conversations with my dad, I guess, because that's, yeah. And then my mom also, my mom's an art educator and has a PhD in arts management education. That's not the name of the degree, but it's like she's the art director of the school district that I went to.
Damn.
So I think that's to them. They're both incredibly smart people, and I'm very thankful for them.
And we're thankful for you.
Yeah, there's definitely a very, very stupid side to me that is kept out of the Elias Hix project.
For now, I want to see it come out a little bit. I want to talk about your music actually, though, because the first song I heard from you actually went on to be a fan favorite, called "Mud Stained Dress."
Yeah,
I actually heard that it was first thought of in a Spanish class, and you were doodling on the back of a worksheet.
Yeah, I'm terrible at Spanish.
See,
awful. I'm actually very dyslexic, and that kind of plays into why I'm so awful at Spanish. This really never clicked. But yeah, I was in Spanish class, and I was junior in high school, and I think I was 16. Yeah, I was 16. Junior in high school was my first semester of that year, and I'd been writing a little bit, but I actually hadn't been writing a ton at that point. So the first song that I ever wrote that I was actually proud of is actually "Thinner." And that's why that album is called Thinner, and why it started with that song. So it was like one of the first things I ever wrote that I was like, oh, maybe I could try to write more songs. But Mudstained Dress specifically, I hadn't been writing a ton, but I wrote, "Can you not see the lines in my face? Can you not hear the worry in my voice? Like the dying horns of the marching band, like the rivers that get deep through the cliffs in the west." I just wrote that on the back of that paper.
Just some quick
and I
poetry.
took a photo of it and then went home and just started. I've been listening to a lot of The Tallest Man on Earth, and I was like obsessed with finger picking. So I really wanted to have a finger picking song. So I was just played around with that finger picking line for a long time, and it was originally like this like descending line that I wrote for it. But then I was like, okay, I want to like simplify it. Seems too complicated. It was actually, the line I wanted in my head, I was not able to play at that point. So I was like, I had to simplify the line, and I got that line from it and sang that original line. But I originally like kind of swung the tempo. There's a video of me somewhere out there on Instagram. I deleted the Instagram account. It was like an old music account you used to post covers on. But I'm kind of like swinging the melody or the rhythm a little bit, and it's kind of funny. I watched it a few days ago. I went home, finished the rest of the song, and then added that pickup part because I wanted to have like a part that I could scream on stage.
Yeah.
So.
And then, I know that you kind of like not struggled, but it took you a minute to get to the finish line with the song and to be a place where you like feel happy with it. But then that actually ended up becoming like a lot of people's intro to your catalog. And something that a lot of the artists say on this show is that they have had to like overcome is the feeling of when you release a song, it's no longer yours. I'm wondering how your relationship has changed with the song now that it has like over 2 million streams and it is a fan favorite of yours.
Yeah, it's funny. I guess the feeling that I wrote that song for, like, it still exists in me, but it's not as present as it was when I wrote the song, of course.
Yeah.
So when I play it live, I guess I don't feel it as much. Like, I still feel what I wrote in the song, but not the same way. But when I listen to the recordings from that album and like the album Thinner that I released actually make me feel kind of emotional, and I don't listen to the album much because it genuinely makes me really sad. Because it's the recording specifically. I always feel like I've had an attachment to the recordings of songs more than the actual song itself.
Oh, okay.
And I'm trying to think of like how to make this make sense. But just like I feel like there's a moment in recordings, and I feel like I've always been more attracted to the moment that songs are recorded from than the actual lyrics in the song itself.
Yeah.
Like, because you can feel it, you can feel the moment in a song along with the lyrics. So just the moments from that album, and I remember doing it, and it just brings me back to that place and what the songs are written about. So I still feel it now because I try to keep it close to my chest, I guess.
Yeah, that's so cool to have like a diary almost of your life there, and in a way that's almost more powerful than just words on paper, like in a full-blown like sensory experience that you can turn back to, and it brings you right back to the day. But yeah, I mentioned that this song obviously in a lot of ears, and your Elias Hix project is now in a lot of people's phones and ears and Spotify and all that. I'm kind of curious how your relationship is with this notoriety that you now have, because you're only getting more, I always hate saying the word, but like famous by day. How has your relationship been having followers?
It's super weird. Because it's there, like from my perspective, when I look on my phone, it's numbers.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, but it's weird to think that every number is a person. Like the number one is one person.
Yeah.
And that's really weird. That's like, and I feel like that's such like a cell phone thing to be so out of touch. It's like you're out of touch with reality unintentionally. So it's like a weird feeling. I know doing these live shows, like people coming by and merch, and like, oh, I've been listening to you for months. I'm like, oh. Well, yeah, because it's also like you write super personal songs, and then somebody's like, "Oh, I listen to your music all the time," and it's like, weird things about me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Even though like I'm the one who put them out there, and I know that I'm putting out there, it's weird that you're now telling me that you've listened and watched to what the things I've put out there for you.
Yeah, and you're kind of like, I hope you don't figure it out, but then you're like, well, of course you want them to figure it out, so it connects to them. You're like, at the same time, you're like, it's kind of weird, you know stuff from my personal life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had any like crazy fan encounters yet?
Not really, like nothing negative.
Yeah.
I've been people who are like, oh, I love your music so much, and but it's not like crazy or anything.
You've been signing stuff?
Yeah, it's weird. I got to like sign a shirt, which was super cool. I've done that a few times, and like never thought that would be a thing because I originally recorded all this music because I wanted to be a recording engineer. So I was like, I should just write some songs and try to record my own music, learn how to do this. And because I was just like, oh, maybe my friends will listen to it. Remember my original goal was there was this guy I knew who had 1,000 monthly listeners, and he was like the coolest person ever. And I was like, and his music is awesome, and I love him. But I was like, I want to get to 1,000 monthly listeners.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I can do it. Like if I push really, really hard, like tell all my friends about it, maybe I can get there. Because I didn't think anyone was really gonna like listen to it. Because I didn't really think any of the songs were worth listening to. Like I thought they were good, but I remember being so done with that album. I was just like, I hate all this music. Like I didn't hate it, but I'm just so tired of working on this. I think it sounds awful. My mixing's not very good. My mastering's not very good. I'm just like gonna release it. So I didn't think anyone was gonna listen to it. Then I had a TikTok do well, and now people listen to it.
And are you confident in your craft now?
Oh, yeah. There's definitely
That's
like
a perfect answer.
Yeah. Like imposter syndrome is a very real thing.
Yeah.
I think I'm more into like I think I have the issue where it's like I'm constantly like on like a pendulum or like a seesaw of I gotta know exactly what I'm doing to like I have no clue how I'm supposed to do this.
Yeah.
Like how the hell do I produce a vocal or compress a vocal? It's like stuff like that. And then sometimes I walk into a project and I'm like, I know exactly what to do. But then it's funny because the things where I'm like, I know exactly what I'm doing never come out the way I want them to come out. But if I come at a song, I'm like, I have absolutely no clue what I'm about to do. Those things come out great. I think it's coming at stuff with like a childlike perspective.
Yeah.
That does really good things.
I love that. I mean, there's a fine line. Like obviously you're on tour and people are streaming your music and it's critically well received for a reason, and you should feel confident in that.
Thank you.
But also there's so much more to learn along the way. So like staying true to yourself and being confident in your craft while also understanding that there's some more that you can add to the repertoire.
Yeah. It's like a silent. It was Phoebe Bridgers' producer. He talks about meeting Phoebe Bridgers for the first time, and he's like, yeah, she had this it's like a very quiet confidence.
Yeah.
He's like that's what good songwriters have. Which is, I guess, I don't know if that's the thing you can cultivate for yourself, a quiet confidence, but I try to like pretend like, you need to have quiet confidence.
And then one day you don't even have to try it. Just there.
So fake it till you make it, I guess. That's my strategy.
So Elias, what industry goals do you have left? Like, what do you want to do maybe in like the near future, a year or two? Like, what do you hope to have accomplished?
I'd like to be able to tour more. That's my biggest thing.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to like headline tour around the U.S. in like 5 or 6 years by then. Be able to headline tour around the U.S. is kind of the dream. And just have like my music reach more people and be able to collaborate more. I guess I don't have like specific industry goals of like signing a certain deal or anything like that. I try to leave all that very open. And I try not to think too much to the future, because I find I get really trapped in that if I do. I'll think too far ahead, and then I just get stuck in the cycle in my head if I feel like I have to do that now.
Yeah.
And there is an importance of setting goals, but then I feel like there's a fine line that I try to do, because I also find myself more motivated if I don't have a goal, and the goal is just to move forward.
And one of your goals can just maybe like don't look too forward.
Yeah, and I think one of the goals is just to like share art with the world. And I think right now, I guess my direct goal would just be, I feel like my last 2 songs, they're like I wrote them very emotionally, but then I released them. I didn't feel as connected to them. So right now my main goal is I want to go back to making art to where I'm sitting in my little room at 12:01 in the morning near the point of tears, because I just like feel like I let my child out into the world.
Yeah.
So I want to get back to that. I think that's my goal right now. I guess that's more an artistic goal, not really an industry goal. But
do you think though, like wrapping up this tour and having those experiences with the fans will kind of lead you there?
Definitely, yeah. And just being able to travel and just see different places and see get encounters with different people, not even people who are necessarily fans, is definitely changing. Like I remember, I think one of the most inspiring things to me that I'd had in a long time, and it was the first time in a while that I'd been like, I have to go write a song right now. And it's been just circling my brain as we were hanging out with in New York watching the eclipse with these, what was the name of it was Stuytown? It was in Stuytown. I just called it Steinville on stage, but but we were hanging out in Stuytown, and there were all these little old ladies, and they were so nice, and we just sat and talked to them, and they're so like welcoming. But I had never felt so inspired to write a song about something in a while, and I talked to them, and I'm just like itching to get back to ETSU and get back to my little studio setup, and I can write about that.
I would love to hear that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Elias, it's honestly, you're a delight. You're super talented.
Thank you.
You have such a great mindset, and I'm excited to see what's in store for you. And now it's time for me to ask my favorite question that I get to ask artists. Unrelated to music, unrelated to your career, what are some goals you got in the near future?
It was funny. You asked this question. Like I saw this on the little doc you sent, and I was like, "Oh, I'm like a loser now." So I used to run cross country and track in high school.
I scrolled back on your Instagram.
Yeah,
I saw.
they're still there. I was like, I should just leave them up there. It'd be funny. Like somebody's gonna scroll down there.
Part of the journey.
Yeah, but I want to get back into running and biking and stuff during the summer. In college, it's been really hard to find time.
Yeah.
So like every bit of time I have, I'm itching to go write or record. So I haven't had a ton of time to really go do that. But I want to get back into that, and also I'm moving out of my dorms next year into an apartment with some of my friends from college.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome.
So I got to learn how to cook. I can cook okay. I can make some things, but I want to know how to make nice meals.
Yeah, when you get the peanut butter sandwiches down.
Yeah. Oh, I can make a damn good.
You just need like eggs, pasta. Yeah. Learn how to air fry broccoli, and that'll get you a few years.
I need to get an air fryer. That's what I need.
Dude, get an air. It'll change your life. You can cook so much in an air fryer. It's awesome.
Yeah, my parents got an air fryer, and I just right at the end of the summer before I left for college, and it was a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Well, so we got cooking. We got booling in the new apartment. I think that's going to be awesome. That's going to be a level of freedom like you've never experienced. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and thank you so much for coming to the Music You're Missing studio.
Yeah, thank you. This has been absolutely amazing. This is such a cool place. I love this.